I saw a funny truck thing some time ago that it was a truck like a bumper sticker or something, or a decal put on the lowrider truck, and it said, "Praise the Lord." And it's stuck in my mind. It makes me laugh. Truck drivers, people who drive like normal, pickup trucks, they have a funny sense of humor sometimes. I saw another truck recently when I was out walking around the neighborhood that said, "I identify as a Prius." Making fun of the transgenders and the non-binaries. All in playfulness, total playfulness and love for the transgenders and the non-binaries. We love you. That's why we don't go along with your mess. Right? What's up, guys? It's 9:02 a.m. U.S. Pacific Daylight Time. B. Zwelto says, "Hake, please play the AJ Gallardo version of your intro. I will on Friday. We normally do it on Fridays. So I would like to stick with the Friday tradition. The Friday common thing, okay? But I do have a hand-picked song. It is Tuesday, May 18th, the year of our Lord, 2021. Year of our Lord is, somebody told me that AD, Anno Domini, may mean something different, but I think of it as year of our Lord. Nibba's trying to tell you what to do. So, another hand-picked song, another song by Vroom, which I believe that they were or are Christians, Vroom. And they came out with this album, and I have a song from this album. I forget what the name of the album was. But this song is called "I Can't Stand Another Minute Here." It is not too long, so we should be starting the show not too long after 9:08. But we'll be chatting in the meantime. So enjoy "I Can't Stand Another Minute Here" from Vroom, and let me know how the audio sounds, volume-wise. 1 for perfect, 2 for too loud, 3 for too quiet, 4 for please mute. I'm sick of it. Here's Vroom. Enjoy. So you try and get it right, but you don't know what to do when the answers won't find you. Look around instead, if there ever is. So cool, right? Plug your ears, friends. Says A. Owens. Man. Torture time, I'm ready, says Jim Justice. Turn it up. No. If people are saying one, I think by turn up, he means get excited, get pumped. Very 2004-ish. Actually, this is 2000, the year 2000. Reminds me of Tony Hawk Pro Skater games. Pop punk hate. Oh, this is groovy. This is Mike Gibson. It's okay. Well, thank you, A. Owens. I appreciate it. My tough critic, toughness is love. Am I right? So, guys, you can call in. Some of you already on hold. 888-775-3773. I have a Bible passage to share with you because I promised that yesterday. It didn't come through. Typical. I have abortion to talk about. I don't have any abortions. And I do not abort this show. And I do not abort this song. Where in the world is the show? This is not Screeching Weasel. And this is not Jesus and Mary Chain. It doesn't even sound like Jesus and Mary Chain. This is Vroom. The Supreme Court's going to consider an abortion case. The Supreme Court's so dumb. Back in 1973, they pretended that you have a constitutional right to kill your baby. Women. Nice intro music, bro. Thank you. Cozy man. Gun grabbers, too. I have a gun grabbers story to cover. The Supreme Court is defending your right not to be subject to unlawful search and seizure. Such a mess. And I have some funny clips to share with you guys. It's funny clips. Rachel Maddow. is a judgmental, nutty lady. Love Jesus and Mary Chain personally. I do too. I like their hits. Actually, I have a clip to share with you regarding the Israel-Palestine mess. Am I getting drowned out? Let me know if it's too loud. Hit 2 if it's too loud. Hit 1 if it's totally fine. But anyway, it's almost over, guys. Thank you for bearing with me. It is a beautiful Vroom music, sharing this beautiful view of Hake Lake, Hake Park Reservoir. That's the view that you're watching if you're watching the video feed. Okay, guys, let's get right on with the show.
1, 2,
Tap water music.
Oh, it's the Hake Report, the Hake Report, la la la. Oh, it's the Hake Report, the Hake Report, la la la.
Hey guys!
Oh, it's the Hake Report, the Hake Report, la la la. Oh, it's the Hake Report, the Hake Report, la la la.
There. So, how are you guys doing? I was patting my poor microphone, which is not even my microphone. It's Jesse Lee Peterson's microphone. I'm sorry. I felt like I screamed a little too hard into the mic and might have damaged it. But I point this way so that I don't spit into the mic. Because I spit when I rap, saliva flies when I sing. God gives me gifts, just look at my ring. I'm just kidding, but you familiar with Supertones?
I don't think so.
Okay. It was a ska, punk, pop, Christian band from the mid-90s. Supertones, fight back, or strike back.
Actually, I do.
You do remember that?
I do remember that.
I remember one time this guy, he's at the end of this album, this guy is all, I pray to God and I ask God for a wife. And then some years later, he's getting divorced. What a mess. That's why JLP stopped praying for a wife. Because every woman he got with him, he couldn't handle, he says. That's what he says. He remembers Supertone Strike Back. Nice.
I remember that.
Okay, guys. Shout out to Asmodor hosting the Hake Report on Trovo.live. Trovo.live/the Hake Report. Hake, you got a sore throat today? No, I think for maybe a few days now, maybe I have like congestion or something. I was told by a friend to use like ginger and lemon or some other concoction or 2 or 3 or 4 different herbs. They're called herbs. Not that kind of herb. I don't do that stuff. It sounds like a country song. And maybe that'll help me with my congestion. Maybe that's what caused. I got a little bit. I got plenty of sleep last night, but I didn't get as much sleep in days prior, so I would go like kind of hoarse. It was a mess. I do have calls to get to, guys, but real quick, actually, let me start right off with this passage. Since you got all that excitement from Vroom, you have a pop shield on. Yeah, I do. Thank you, RP. And I do have super chats to read. I almost said supertones to read. Funny super chats, by the way. Shout out to my favorite ethnic child. And Based AF, Based America First, and Brandon M, and Cheesehead69. I will get to you guys, your super chats, super caps on Trovo and Streamlabs. Demonetized on DLive. JLP is not, though. You can still support him on DLive. Actually, I think I'm still getting your subscription lemons. So if you guys are subscribed to me on DLive, I'm still getting your lemons. Nice. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. I don't even know if you can cancel your subscriptions. Whew. So I'm getting lemons. So maybe let me check my DLive, actually. Because maybe DLive.tv/the Hake Report, I don't like to promote it since they demonetize me, but I promote Jesse's. And I do have a little bit of a lemon balance. Yeah, so I can open up the treasure chest at the end of the show again. You can play the treasure chest thing at the end of the show, 5 minutes till or whatever, and I'll open it for you guys, right? for the freeloaders. Some of them are freeloaders. Suspected. But let me share with you this passage. I came across this. It's Romans 8, and I don't have any screenshot of it, so you just have to listen closely, okay? Romans 8. And I'm going to start with verses 1 and 2. And I'm reading from the King James Version. Don't get distracted. I'll try to keep it so that it's understandable, though. A lot of you guys are King James only, which I can respect that, I guess. To me, I don't have a big preference. Romans 8 reads, "There is therefore now no condemnation to those who are in Christ Jesus, who walk not after the flesh, but after the Spirit. For the law of the Spirit of life in Christ has made me free from the law of sin and death." Isn't that nice? Sounds like we're not supposed to continue sinning. Some people, many Christians think you're supposed to continue sinning. If, and it's a big if, the Spirit's in you. So then, they that are in the flesh, and I'm reading from, I guess, 8 through 11, verses 8 through 11 in Romans 8. They that are in the flesh cannot please God. Isn't it interesting? But you are not in the flesh, but in the Spirit, if so be that the Spirit of God dwells in you. Now, if any man has not the Spirit of Christ, he is none of his. Wow. So you're not of it if you're not of the Spirit. And if Christ is in you, the body is dead because of sin, but the Spirit is life because of righteousness. You're alive. But if the Spirit of him who raised up Jesus from the dead dwells in you, he that raised Christ from the dead shall also quicken your mortal bodies by his Spirit that dwells in you. Interesting. Does that mean after you die or right now you start to live more, even healthier? Maybe. Seems like it might be both. Children of God. This is my header. I'm using my headers for it. This is verses 14 through 20. As many are led by the Spirit of God, they are sons of God. Interesting, huh? For you have not received the spirit of bondage again to fear. I think this is Paul writing to the Romans. But you have received the spirit of adoption, whereby we cry, Abba, Father. Abba, I guess, means father. Some people say that Abba meant daddy. Okay, whatever. The Spirit itself bears witness with our spirit that we are children of God. See? And this is the same language JLP uses, by the way. Some people claim, oh, where does he get his stuff? He's not biblical. Yes, he is. If it so be that we suffer with him, that we may also be glorified with him. We are children, heirs of God, and joint heirs with Christ. I read that a little out of order. For I reckon that the sufferings of this present time are not worthy to be compared with the glory that will be revealed in us. The earnest expectation of the creature waits for the manifestation of the sons of God. I don't know what creature they're referring to, but it says, the creature was made subject to vanity, not willingly, but by reason of him who has subjected the same in hope. Might be talking about us, because we're creation, we're creatures, God's creations, and we were vain, we were subject to vanity, and now we're subject to hope, if we're children of God, right? And this part reminds me of the silent prayer, 26 through 29. This is Romans 8, 26 through 29. Likewise, the Spirit also helps our infirmities, for we know not what we should pray for as we ought. Don't you know that? The Spirit itself makes intercession for us with groanings which cannot be uttered. And he that searches the hearts knows what is the mind of the Spirit, because he makes intercession for the saints according to the will of God. Interesting, huh? Praying in the Spirit. What else? And we know that all things work together for good to those who love God, to those who are called according to his purpose. For those he foreknew, he also predestined to be conformed to the image of his Son, that he might be the firstborn among many brothers. Jesus, firstborn of many brothers. So that's not just a Mormon thing. Some people think it's just a Mormon thing, and that Jesse is wrong for calling Jesus our brother. It says right here, the Son of God would be the firstborn among many brothers. in your face, those of you who accuse Jesse of being a liar. Who shall separate us from the love of Christ? This is verses 35 to 39. Just the ending part of Romans 8, at least my section of Romans 8 that I wanted to share with you. Shall tribulation or distress or persecution or famine or nakedness or peril or sword separate you from the love of Christ? As it is written, for your sake we are killed all day long. We are, killed all day long. Accounted as sheep for the slaughter. In all things we are more than conquerors through him who loved us. I'm persuaded that neither death, nor life, nor angels, nor principalities, nor powers, nor things present, nor things to come, nor height, nor depth, nor any other creature shall be able to separate us from the love of God, which is in Christ Jesus our Lord. What a nice, they should make that into a song. They did make it into a song. Very nice. It's a nice song, too. Isn't that, that's my Bible thumping for the day. Very nice. Hake, do not understand what he's reading, says Rome Mental. Forget you, Rome Mental. Oh my gosh, it's already hot in here. Is it not hot in here? Mm-hmm. Let's turn on the AC. Throw a blanket on the people outside because outside of the studio, it's freezing. Thank you. I already saw the lights dim briefly because the AC turned on. So let's open the vent and get some air in here. Gracias. That means thanks in Mexican. So guys, I have some calls to get to, but real quick, I want to talk briefly about this abortion thing. I told you about it in Hake News at the end of hour 1 of the Jesse Lee Peterson show. But by the way, the anti-American extremist propaganda publisher, Twitter, on which you can, have your little imitation platform to a point with a tight leash on it, especially if you're white or telling the truth or conservative or Christian or a man. Twitter, the far left extremist publisher, anti-American propagandist, put out this headline, Supreme Court, because they're putting out news now, right? So-called news. Supreme Court agrees to consider Mississippi's ban on most abortions after 15 weeks. Elective abortions in particular. And they have a beautiful picture of, I guess that's a Supreme Court building or something. I don't know my stuff. The case set to be heard in the court's next term, which is probably October. So you hear about it in May, and we're not going to hear again about it for another 5 months. But it's pretty big news. The liberals are hating it, and the conservatives are happy. At least it's going to be, they're going to pretend to be fair about it. We'll see. I don't really have high hopes. People are like, oh, Amy Coney Barrett. Coney's her maiden name. Amy Barrett. Maybe she'll be open to overturning Roe versus Wade. That's that 1973 ruling that said, did they say something like you have a right to privacy while you're killing your baby in the womb? That's the constitutional right. And I heard that there were some Republican so-called justices too who were in on that. And males, I don't know if any females were on the court when they did that. Males, that's pathetic. And now they have a bunch of females on the court and we've gone even worse. It's ridiculous. Ridiculous. But I have some screenshots of these people. Emma Kinnery is a Bloomberg so-called business reporter / activist, a woman, a female. And she tweeted out this Bloomberg is a far-left enemy of America news outlet, owned by Mike Bloomberg, by the way, the billionaire, who ran unsuccessfully, even though he advertised on the best platform ever, and it still didn't help him win. The U.S. Supreme Court will consider gutting the constitutional right to abortion. Some objective journalist this woman is, am I right? Calling it a constitutional right to abortion, pretending that that's actually real. Agreeing to hear Mississippi's bid to ban the procedure. And notice all of these, what do you call those things? What do you call those things when they, euphemisms? Yeah, interesting choice of the language, gutting. Good point, Chris. Gutting. When you gut something, you tear out the guts, like of a, don't you gut fish? You gut fish, right? Yeah. Meanwhile, they gut the babies from the mother's womb, and that's what's really happening. Not to be too graphic, but they're using all these euphemisms. Abortion itself is a euphemism. What are you doing? You're aborting, you're stopping the pregnancy, which disrupts the bodily functions, and some say it causes breast cancer. It's definitely a correlation. Definitely an ABC link, abortion breast cancer link. Look it up. But then now she called it a procedure, meaning ban baby killing. In almost all cases after 15 weeks of pregnancy, meaning the baby is 15 weeks old inside the womb, right? And it is a baby, it is a child. A fetus is a child. A fetus is a baby. It's not a clump of cells. I'm a clump of cells. I'm also a person. I'm a human. The move suggests the Supreme Court's strengthened conservative wing. Yeah, the Supreme Court, nothing strong about the Supreme Court. Nothing conservative about that wing of the Supreme Court, except the great Alito, maybe, and the great Justice Clarence Thomas. The conservative wing may be ready to roll back, if not overturn, the landmark 1973 Roe v. Wade decision, which was a mockery. They acted, I think they said something like, in those actual justices, and look at the pictures too, by the way, of these activists, these females, POC females, putting, trust women, yeah, okay. My decision, abortion access, it is not, what are they saying? It is about justice and dignity for all, except for the man and the baby. And actually the woman too, because it's not dignified to kill your baby. It's not dignified. And then there's another person who says, don't kill human beings, way off in the back. Don't tread on me. No more coat hangers, because they're pretending that if you ban abortions, they'll go back to using coat hangers to kill babies. That's what Louis Farrakhan's mom, according to Jesse Lee Peterson's book, The Antidote, which was well-researched and had its citations all in order. Louis Farrakhan's mom tried to abort him with a coat hanger, meaning kill him, before he was born. No wonder he's so angry. He never got over it. And he wants to blame whites for it. Did he have a white mother? I don't know. But anyway, they showed a gross thing. All kinds of gross stuff. And look at these little girls. Nasty. Little brown children. Little ethnic children. But not my favorite little ethnic child. She wouldn't be found at a pro-abortion rally holding a mess like this. He or she. It's about justice and dignity for all. Give me a break. Abortion access? Oh, give me access to guns to kill people. Give me a break. They're not for that. Anyway. The Washington Compost, whose mission statement is to kill America by casting America into darkness with their lies, right? Democracy dies in darkness. That's their mission statement. America's not a democracy, but they want it to make it so. Because as long as they can dumb down the mob, they can get the mob to vote away their rights and responsibilities, right? The Washington Compost, the Supreme Court is to review Mississippi's abortion law that advocates see as a path to diminish Roe v. Wade. And another woman, BuzzFeed reporter, I think, Zoe Tillman, BuzzFeed so-called news, anti-abortion activists. They used to call them pro-life activists, right? Anti-abortion activists. Why not just call it the whole thing? Anti-baby killing in the womb activists. Anti-unborn children, anti-killing unborn children activists. How about you just call it that if you're going to call it anti-abortion? Had a plan to get to the Supreme Court. It worked. On today's news that the Supreme Court will take up Mississippi's 15-week abortion ban. Again, they're not going to hear it until October. And this one is horrific. This next one is by another Bloomberg so-called law reporter. All female reporters, by the way. Kimberly Robinson. That's Zoe Tillman. She's a BuzzFeed so-called reporter. BuzzFeed is far left. Pro-Obama, kiss-ups, cowards. There was a guy who went from BuzzFeed to CNN. Kimberly Robinson, who's a Bloomberg law reporter, a female, said SCOTUS will consider Mississippi's 15-week abortion ban. Dobbs versus Jackson Women's Health Organization. They give background. And look at the horrific image that they show. A picture of a table, whether it's, I don't know what in the world? Nobody call in and explain this to me. It's gross. It looks like a table where a woman's arms or legs are propped up and held down or something like that. I guess that's the abortion table. Sick stuff, huh? Scary. Looks like we're looking at those old school torture devices. Or we're looking at where they used to sacrifice children to Moloch, right? Didn't they used to do stuff like that? Bloomberg so-called law. These people are a joke. And the Supreme Court in 1973 was a joke. Many of those people are dead now. Sick. Looks very much like a human sacrifice device from Moloch, says Radulaser. Yeah. Gross. Anyway, quickly, I want to get to some calls. Let me first get to Joshua, a first-time caller in Wisconsin, who wants to talk about the future of the so-called Republican Party. And I say so-called because they're mostly rhinos right now. It's a shame. Joshua, how are you?
Hey, how are you doing?
Doing well. Nice to hear from you.
It's nice to hear from you too, man. What's going on, man? What's happening?
Nothing much. Just having fun on my show. Talking about
I can see you having fun.
Talking about how dumb baby killer supporters are.
Oh my God. And I didn't know that. Al Sharpton was going to get aborted. I didn't know that. And
not Al Sharpton, but Louis Farrakhan.
Oh, Louis Farrakhan. What's the difference?
Yeah, I know. Good question.
So what's going on? Are we losing? Are we winning?
Oh, very good question. That's not for us to know. It's not over. And, one guy whom I respect has said we're winning, even though it looks like we're losing. We're winning. So don't be deceived by your eyes and your logic or your math and looking at all the madness that seems to be thriving in the world. Don't be deceived by that.
Yeah, I'm not deceived. It's just I started getting into politics when Obama got elected.
Yeah, me too.
Pick out one soft Republican to represent the whole Republican Party. They had Mitt Romney.
Yeah, I know.
The whole Republican Party.
Ridiculous, huh? Mitt Romney.
Now they have Tim Scott representing the whole Republican Party.
Yeah.
And I don't know anything about the new replacement for Liz Cheney Stefanik. I don't know anything about her. I hope she's strong. I hope she's like Amy Coney Barrett. I hope she's going to do very good.
I don't know, man. I don't know even about Amy Barrett. Amy Barrett is not tough enough for my taste either.
Really?
Yeah. Did you hear? You may not have heard, but when she was being interviewed, she was asked about, by the Senate, right? The Senate had to confirm her when Trump nominated her. And I like Trump. I totally like Trump. But his nomination of her, Amy Coney Barrett. Comey Barrett, as in James Comey. That's funny.
Oh, wow.
She was like talking about crying with her adoptive black children and daughter over the George Floyd thing. So she's like encouraging her adoptive children to falsely identify with their blackness over a guy who got himself killed, really. He got himself killed. And she is kissing up to the fake black victimhood and racism notion and the false smears upon cops. And that cop, how is he going to get justice? He's been, in my opinion, falsely convicted over politics. And now his compatriots, his fellow cops, I think they're also fired and charged with crimes too. And he's like rotting right now while she's living high on the hog when she has pretty young children. She's supposed to be a mother, but instead she's playing Supreme Court justice. Give me a break.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So Stefanik, I don't know if Elise Stefanik is a mother. Elise Stefanik. And I saw some clips from her, but you can easily see a clip and like somebody based on that clip. She's 36 years old, born in 1984. Married, I don't see anything about, does she have children? I don't know. She's cool. I mean, she seems okay, but Nick and Jesse Lee Peterson, Nick is Jesse's producer, they exposed how she's gone against Trump on certain things. And she's so-called come around, but the rhinos come around, but then they're quick to backstab and leave once it looks like Trump is out of power. So it's not like they agree with stuff based on what's right. They just kiss up to politics. So, I don't know.
That's what that's what the weak ones do. They have to kiss up or else they'll be silence the strong and give the weak a voice.
Yep. So.
And I think that's what they're going to do. And I really hope that either DeSantis or Trump returns for the 2024 election. I'll vote for either one.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, I'll vote for either one. They're all very good politicians. I agree with everything that they say. I do think that in some way DeSantis would be a better choice because Trump had he's just going to be it's going to happen again. His whole administration, what they did to him is just going to happen again. But DeSantis, I feel like he can have a way. He likes to have a fair fight.
You may be right. DeSantis is younger, and he's more. He knows. I'm chuckling at the chat. The chat's kind of funny sometimes. Nothing about you. Don't worry, Joshua. DeSantis is. He has been a congressman before, and now he's he was a congressman, I believe, and now he's a governor, and I don't know if he's as strong as Trump. I honestly kind of doubt it, actually, but he can grow. He can grow. So hopefully he comes through, and he knows the inner workings, and he's not as blind to just how evil these people are, and he has the benefit of seeing what they did to Trump. So he's coming back with clear eyes. I think Trump would maybe be a little wiser too. But
I mean, Trump was kind of screwed from the beginning because he had a weak vice president.
I don't think you can't really blame the whole administration on Pence. Pence could have been stronger, but Pence, I honestly didn't have any problem with Pence until the very end when he didn't stand with Trump. And even then, I cut him slack because nobody else did. Nobody else did either. And so what was he to do,
Yeah.
So I don't really blame Pence. I wouldn't even mind if he picked Pence again. I kind of like Pence still.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, all right. You have your opinion, and I have mine.
You think Pence is a backstabber?
No. I just think like
Just weak.
You went to this game knowing what's going to happen. You stay to the very end, no matter what.
Yeah.
But that's just my opinion.
Yeah, I wonder what they really think of each other right now. Trump and Pence.
Oh,
I really wonder.
Donald has a lot of words.
Yeah.
Yeah. But my last question for you is, and I know you're going to talk about the Palestinian and Israeli thing anyway, but
oh yeah, go ahead.
Which side do you think is the right side?
Oh, with Israel and Palestine, which side is the right side?
Yeah, Israel and Palestine. Which one is there a right side? Is there not?
That's an interesting question. I think that are probably some in Israel who are on the right side, maybe. I like Netanyahu. I don't know much about him. Maybe I'm a sucker for liking him, but from what I know of him, I like him. I don't like the people who hate Netanyahu, and those are the people who are trying to take over Israel, and they have a major influence on Israel. It's kind of like what's happened in America, where America is taken over by America's enemies. Same thing in Israel. Israel is being taken over by Israel's enemies. So, I don't necessarily lump Netanyahu in with that. I think Netanyahu, I like how Netanyahu didn't like Obama, but he liked Trump. And so, yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens.
We'll see.
Yeah.
Thank you for your program.
Yeah, nice to talk with you, Joshua. Take care.
Nice to meet you too. You have a good day.
All right. It's interesting. You know, he brought up, let me jump over to this clip. It's the last clip that I made, clip 13, I believe. And maybe not the last clip. Second to last clip. It's clip 13. It should say something like Tom Cotton. Yeah. I got this from Real Clear Politics. Speaking of people that, can you really trust them, right? And then I have Samuel in Tennessee next. He actually wants to ask my thoughts on World War I and II. Interesting. Very nice. Tom Cotton is a senator from, what is that, Arkansas? Yeah. Thank you. He's a Republican. I know men who respect this guy. I think he was an Air Force guy or something like that, right? And he's kind of a serious person. You see him on Fox News, right? Sometimes. So he asks this question, I saw this headline, did Associated Press allow themselves to be used as human shields for Hamas? Hamas is the Palestinian leadership, I guess you would call them. They're being called terrorists by America and by Israel, and they do use terrorist tactics. So, I mean, they're kind of fighting for their nation, right? They're trying to establish a Palestinian nation. Did you know that? Is there even a nation called Palestine? It's probably not internationally recognized, huh? But they're trying to be a nation. I've heard people who say, you know, the Palestinians, they should make their nation and have their right to their nation. I don't know. Anyway, he's talking about Hamas. It's traditionally, many times, they've used human targets, or that's what's been reported or alleged, right? They use human targets. They pick up children and run, and that way the other soldiers are less likely to shoot at them because they don't want to hit the children. Well, this was reported May 18th. Senator Tom Cotton questioned the leadership of the Associated Press, whose offices, did you hear about this? AP's offices were bombed by Israel this week in Gaza. Based? I don't know. This week in Gaza because the building was allegedly also used by Hamas. Anthony Blinken, who's the Biden-Harris simp Secretary of State, he said on Monday he's not seen evidence that Israel claims to have that Hamas used the building. So I don't know. But they bombed AP. Didn't hurt anybody because they announced it, right? They announced it. Oh, we're going to bomb this building. Get on out. So they evacuated. I don't think it killed anybody. But they bombed the building. AP are enemies of America, by the way. Just FYI. Maybe not everybody in AP. It's a huge so-called journalistic organization. They're propagandists against America. Just FYI. Anyway, here's Tom Cotton talking, and look at how he's talking. It's honestly a little distracting to me because he's reading and he's kind of performing, but he raises an interesting question. All right, so listen to Tom Cotton. This is not too long of a clip. It's maybe a minute or so. Listen to this.
Why is the Associated Press sharing a building with Hamas? Surely these intrepid reporters knew who their neighbors were. Did they knowingly allow themselves to be used as human shields by a U.S.-designated terrorist organization? Did the AP pull its punches and decline to report for years on Hamas's misdeeds? I submit that the AP has some uncomfortable questions to answer. Yet the AP and its fellow journalists are in high dudgeon about Israel's wholly appropriate airstrike. Leave it to whiny reporters to make themselves the story and the victim when terrorists are shooting missiles at innocent civilians.
I don't know. Is he right? Is he right or is he wrong? It's funny how these politicians, it seemed like a buzzword to say whiny reporters. Reporters are indeed whiny, but it seemed like a wink and a nod and a kiss up to us because we all know that reporters are evil. Most of them, right? They're dumb liberals. They're activists. They're enemies of America. So I don't know. I felt like it was a little off-putting to hear Tom Cotton talk like that and whatever. Is he a swamp? Is he part of the swamp or is he, a lot of the problem that these politicians run into is their lawyers. I think Tom Cotton, I don't know if he is, but a lot of them go to law school. And what happens in law school is you stop being yourself. You end up being this phony thing. Politicians fall into that big time. That's why it's hard to find a genuine, normal person. What you see is what you get type person. That was Trump. That's not any of these politicians, including Tom Cotton. I like him. He's another Harvard lawyer from Arkansas, says Sir Law. Yeah, I don't like that stuff. But he raises an interesting question. And by the way, he's raised interesting questions before, Tom Cotton, in his defense, right? In his defense. I don't really have much to say because it's all speculation regarding this Palestine-Israel thing and what happened and who's done what. I'm not into the Palestinian victimhood thing, that's for sure. But I'm not necessarily interested in the in all these liberals and rhinos kissing up to Israel either. I like JLP's take. I've never heard anybody else put it the way that JLP does with regard to the jealous Palestinians just whining and complaining about and making it a ghetto, like what happens here, regardless of the character of the people who are well-to-do and rich and keeping their places clean, the Asians, the whites, the Jewish people, or whatever. It is no good to kiss up to, oh, they're being genocided. Anyway, something that Tom Cotton also got right, and then I'll get to Samuel in Tennessee. Well, I don't know if he got it right yet, but he's asking questions that are valid questions. The lab theory is not debunked. And I don't have anything to share with you from this, at least not pictures. But the lab theory with regard to how this virus supposedly started, the China/commie virus's origin, it's unclear still. The mainstream media was pretending that the lab theory, the theory that it came from a Chinese lab in Wuhan, was debunked, but it's not. And this Senator Tom Cotton, who I just called kind of phony, but sometimes he raises good questions, and he might be an okay guy, I don't know. He questioned the origin. From the very beginning, he cited it as a possibility that it may have come from a lab where they were trying to come up with defenses against chemical warfare by creating chemical weapons effectively, right? And it leaked because they're careless. They've leaked stuff before. They leaked SARS, I think. SARS was a virus that came out in 2003 and it killed like 600 Chinese, and it was a huge story. Andy Lau or somebody made, the king of China, made a beautiful song about the people who died of SARS, or actually maybe she recovered. But it was a beautiful, sad song. I remember hearing about it. That's when I started seeing all the Asians with the lawnmower face masks, you know? Anyway, Zero Hedge, you know the outlet Zero Hedge? They put out information on the basis of Cotton's questions and comments. And I remember Twitter, the far left enemies of America publisher Twitter, they censored Zero Hedge for some reason. Anyway, this liberal independent journalist Michael Tracy has been calling out the mainstream media for calling it debunked when it's not. There is evidence emerging for the COVID lab leak theory, but journalists who claimed conspiracy were humiliating themselves. Michael Tracy. He's been on the Jesse Lee Peterson show before. And he dug around. The Washington Compost put out some article. Richard H. Albright, a Board of Governors professor of chemistry and chemical biology, Rutgers professor guy, was quoted widely in media reports last year, according to Michael Tracy, as an expert authority debunking the lab leak theory, but he's actually a proponent of the viability of the lab leak theory, this Harvard guy. What did I say? Oh, Rutgers guy, not Harvard. And so the Washington Compost had this headline, Tom Cotton keeps repeating coronavirus conspiracy theory that it was already debunked. Many others were doing that. Aaron Rupar, remember that guy? With a Vox, so-called journalist, Vox.com, also communist. Sick stuff. So I think that Tom Cotton tries to be honest sometimes, right? Anyway. Let me get to Samuel in Tennessee. Samuel, how are you doing?
Somebody turn on the AC because Hake is on the hot seat.
Nice. It is on and it's comfortable in here again.
Nice.
Everybody's freezing outside the studio.
Yeah, make him shiver.
Yeah.
Make Tom Cruise in there put on another shirt over his white shirt.
Oh, no, he's fine. He doesn't need it. He actually has a black shirt on right now.
I love Nick. I love the staff. Guys, nobody should be wearing anything close to a polka dot. That's just this new skinny jean style. Metrosexual. No polka dots, nothing close to a polka dot.
All right.
Polka dots are for picnic baskets and picnic tables and little girl sundresses.
Yeah. Chris says he only wears solid colors.
There you go.
Yep.
He's a man.
Facts.
Yeah, so Hake, I wanted to ask you what you thought about the United States' involvement in World War I and World War II. I have my take on it, and I thought I'd just ask, do you think it was a good decision for the United States? Do you think we were violating anything of our own principles?
Yeah. I really don't know much about history, but who got us into World War II? Was that FDR, the communist?
It was actually Edward Bernays, the grandson of Sigmund Freud. He was the head of the I think FDR may have made or the guy before him, Hoover, made the Bureau of the, well, it's not a bureau, it's not constitutional, but it's the Department of Public Relations. And Edward Bernays conducted a propaganda campaign to convince Americans to enter World War II.
And that was under FDR, though, right?
I think it was Hoover to FDR.
Oh, Hoover. Okay.
Yeah. An interesting note.
And then Woodrow Wilson, who was another communist, right?
Yes, he was.
The guy, didn't he get us into World War I?
Yeah, he did. And
so those are evil people. I don't trust anything that they do.
Yeah, Woodrow Wilson, his first 6 months, he went on an apology tour very similar to Obama. For 6 months, he went through Europe.
Wow.
And just apologizing for America's freedom, decisions to be independent, and things like that.
That's before the war?
Yeah, before the war, as soon as he got elected. And he was the president in which the Federal Reserve Act and the Internal Revenue Act, which is taxation, was passed under.
Unconstitutional.
Yeah. So this is what I understand. So after World War I, there was two American heroes, war heroes. One was Smedley Butler, who wrote a book called War is a Racket. He was a heavily decorated Marine.
Yeah.
And there was Charles Lindbergh, who was a famous fighter pilot. Smedley Butler wrote a book, and Charles Lindbergh went on a campaign trying to convince Americans to not enter World War II. They saw the war front and center, and they were against it. After you lose a bunch of men, socialism is easier to be instituted, and that's what they noticed. And Charles Lindbergh specifically was the one that
Yeah.
coined the America First idea.
Nice.
And he was called, because he was against entering into World War II, he was smeared. He was called anti-Semitic. He was called
Yeah.
a nationalist, a radical nationalist.
Oh, yeah, they don't... Nationalist is a bad word to Europeans and other communists, huh?
And just to wrap it up, I think we have a Constitution. If you read, I believe it's in Article 1 of the Constitution, we are not to enter into foreign affairs. The Monroe Doctrine is actually not just the Monroe Doctrine. It's enforcement of, it's a tight reading of the Constitution. We are supposed to defend our borders and to help the welfare of this country.
Yeah.
And, but, you know, the
Defend our
original
borders
sin-
is exactly what we don't do. What a mess.
It's the back door is open, and we're in 100.
And we're helping them across the river
know.
illegally. Anyway.
But this is what I wanted to say, is that this country started with great ideals. We violated our own ideals with the War of Southern Aggression.
Some say that Lindbergh didn't serve in World War I. Brandon M. says that he didn't serve in World War I. I don't know.
Interesting.
Whatever.
Yeah. So
Beside the point, really.
The Civil War, we violated our own state's ratification and annulment of federal overreach by engaging in the War of Northern Aggression.
Yeah.
And since then, we've just been moving into an empire. It parallels what happened to Rome as a republic, and as Rome became an empire through Julius Caesar and Augustus.
Yeah.
So we just have to have awareness of that. As Christians, we're not of this world. Jesus said, my servants are not, my kingdom is not of this world. If it were, my servants would fight. And that's why I take a non-resistance stance. That doesn't mean I agree with weakness or side with it, but we're going to have to, as Christians, really pray for the peace of our land and community and try to reach out in truth and love and be preemptive on the chaos that's going to come.
Yeah.
And I learned a lot of this stuff from the Anabaptist perspective, which is, you know, the Amish, the Mennonites, and the Hutterites and whatnot. There's a YouTube channel, Anabaptist Perspectives, too, I think. But I think that's what Christ called us to do, is to serve now and just let God's will be done. These empires come and go, unfortunately. I mean, I love the Constitution. We're not following it anymore, or our ruling class is not. And
yeah, it is a shame that there is such disrespect. You brought up the Civil War. Such disrespect and trashing of the South, the beautiful South, and those who respect. We should respect the Confederacy and the Confederate heroes. Those were Americans, and if we want to be united with them, we better give them the freedom. If we didn't, we fought to not give them the freedom to secede from the Union, right? Or America did, right?
Interestingly, a lot of German communists were imported to fight in the Northern Army. This is a part of history that's not really discussed. I learned it through the John Birch Society books, which the John Birch Society is also smeared as a radical hate group. But they are an anti-communist constitutional education society founded by Christians. And there was the WAR party. It was a small group of a banking elite that imported Germans. Germany at that time was a bunch of federations. It was not a nation yet.
Wow.
And they imported a bunch of a bunch of different groups of German communists and promised them, a communist utopia in the northern states. And when they got here, they said, hey, well, now you got to fight for it. And so they entered the war.
Wow.
Interestingly, also, Lincoln was the first man to issue an executive order, and his first executive order was to jail 30,000 northern dissidents to the war. There was 30,000 northern...
I heard that he brought the income tax, too, temporarily. Didn't he do an income tax?
Yeah, it was the greenbacks. He issued a debt-based currency called the greenback.
Interesting, man.
First fiat currency. And,
that's wild stuff, man. I got to run, Samuel, but very interesting.
Sure. Okay, God bless you. Thanks for your work.
All right. Take care, man.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Wild stuff. People have... they don't want a united country. Otherwise, they wouldn't be calling the Confederate flag a traitor flag, a loser's flag, all that stuff. It's a trashing of the South, a total disrespect. That's not what Grant wanted. When Grant, Ulysses S. Grant, when he and General Robert E. Lee, two great men, I think Lee may have been a better man, honestly, but I'm not sure. When they made their agreement, he stopped, what I understand, what I was told from some historian, he stopped the northern soldiers from firing off in celebration, saying, no, these are our brothers now. We are one country. But now they want to just trash these people. There's universally trash the beautiful South. Some of the best people. What a shame. So quickly, a few super chats. I have Zach in Columbus, Ohio. The listener's favorite caller coming up next after a quick song here. Maybe not that quick of a song. But my favorite ethnic child gave a super chat on streamlabs.com/the Hake Report and said, when Jesse becomes president, he should hire James as his press secretary. That's me. Since all the hate watchers expect James to answer for Jesse on the Hake Report. Yeah, like Russ from Hampton, Virginia yesterday, calling into my show, that mess. And then Earl from Michigan, complete hater with his mess, getting me to answer for Jesse. And I willingly, because Blacks is so entertaining, I entertain their ridiculous questions, right? Based AF, Based America First, says, with a super chat on streamlabs.com/the Hake Report, MIT researchers infiltrated a COVID skeptics community only to discover the community valued data transparency and information literacy and were more scientifically rigorous than the public experts. Very interesting, man. Not surprising, honestly. Very not surprising. Azador says that George Washington, issued 8 executive orders. Every president issued executive orders. It's part of the office. Interesting, man. Yeah, so Lincoln wasn't the first one to do any executive orders. I have some super chats on Trovo to read. Super caps, actually. That's when they are in italics. And after that, I do want to... Oh, I forgot to show you the black judge regarding the abortion stuff. I'll show that to you too later. This song is, speaking of the South, this song is called Charleston, that I will play for you next. But real quick, Cheesehead69 says, Vroom is now on the WBS playlist. What's WBS? I'm afraid to ask. And Brandon M says, Hake is the best kind of hipster, listening to music no one has ever heard nor wants to hear and brags about it. You got my number, Brandon M. And so with that, enjoy the song Charleston by Vroom. And it is like a 5-minute song, so I'll come back after 2 or 3 minutes and we'll talk more as it's playing out. And then I'll get to Zach in Columbus and more of the stories in that black judge who's pro-abortion, Obama judge. Big surprise, right? Enjoy this song, Charleston by Vroom. And I'll be right back. Isn't this nice? Some people says it's terrible, says A. Owens. Whoa. You need some Skinner. We need some Skinner. It's mad music, says man music, says Sir Law. Funny. Song needs more power tapping. What's power tapping? I'm not sure what that is. I'll have to ask Chris after this. The music does have a nostalgic vibe with it, says Cody Ives. Hake by the Lake, Tony Hawk Pro Skater, Infinite Combo, says Steven Absolution. Yeah. The lyrics are lovely. Yeah. Talking about getting your innocence back. That song title is Charleston. Isn't that the capital of South Carolina, I think? Charleston, South Carolina? Yeah. Raleigh is North Carolina's capital, I think. I learned my states and capitals in 5th grade. It's about partying or rioting. Maybe it's for people going down to do their spring break thing. Spring break wildness before spring break became such a big thing. I will get to your calls, guys. This is actually cool Hake music, says Jim Justice. Thank you. Appreciate it. Oh, Columbia, South Carolina. Thank you, man. Is it really? Or is it Columbia, South Carolina? Charleston is in South Carolina. I think you are right, DNYG. Got my back. Live fact checkers. Chris says he got 110%. 110% on the states and capitals test. You can write them down, fill out a blank map of the United States, and probably the world. Yeah. Very nice. All American rejects, says F. Jenny Crosby. Easter break. Yeah, Easter vacation. Easter vacation. Named the lakes for extra credit, hence the 10%. Oh, he was not kidding. Wow. That's how people get more than a 4.0 grade point average, GPA, when they are students, because they do better. Do better than perfect. Okay. Yeah, it's kind of punkish, this music. Pop punk is how some describe it. Driving melodic rock. Anyway, thank you for that, guys. What did I promise before? Okay, before I get to Zach, let me just show you quickly this black pro-abortion Obama judge. It's in the abortion folder. Carleton Reeves. This guy was all grandstanding, and he accused the lawmakers of the state of, what was this, Mississippi or something like that? I think so. Because Mississippi banned abortions after 15 weeks unless, the life of the mother or a horrifically deformed fetus, which is a baby or a child. This is the black judge. He is Carleton Reeves. And he's like saying, oh, you guys did this on purpose just to get to the Supreme Court. And so he ruled against them. But, of course, they went to the Supreme Court. So it worked. Obama judge. Black. For killing babies. Apparently. Ridiculous. Born in 1964, by the way. Might be an old picture. Because he probably looks a little bit older than this now. But what a shame, huh? Terrible stuff. Let me quickly I have some ridiculous, speaking of the virus mess, scenes from a lesbian and a sleepy president talking about the masks and the vaccines and all that madness. But first, let me get to Zach in Columbus, Ohio. He wants to talk about a person named Anthony Brown. Why does that name ring a bell? What's up, Zach? How are you doing?
It's Andrew Brown. I thought it was Anthony, but it's Andrew.
Andrew Brown. And who is this?
Yes. So, another victim of the blacks, back at it again, getting shot by the police.
Oh, you mean blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, blah, blah, blah.
Okay. Now I know who you're talking about. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah. Basically, this guy got pulled over by the police, and they told him to get out of the car. And he runs he's in the car, and he's pulling off. And the police tell him, give him a whole bunch of warnings, oh, stop the car. So he drives off real fast and almost runs over one of the police officers. So they shoot at him and hit him 4 times in the head.
Wow.
I think one was in the arm, and then one went to his skull.
Wow.
But the blacks are upset about this. And it's like this. He almost ran over a police officer,
Right.
and then ran off with his car. while they
Yeah.
were trying to
What do you
stop him.
expect? It's ridiculous. So blah, 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 Jr. District attorney says deputies who fatally shot blah, 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 Jr. were justified. That's a CNN headline. No charges for the police who shot the black motorist. And North Carolina sheriff's deputies justified in the fatal shooting of blah, 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 Jr., according to the district attorney. Right on DA, I guess, for stating the what's based on your telling of the story should be obvious. Crazy, man.
It is crazy. It's sad to see. I know that this isn't something new that we
Right.
deal with, but it's still sad to see that the children of the lie are not waking up.
Yeah. Very true.
Yep.
Good shooting, as Maddow
It was
says.
a
Yeah.
good shooting.
Yeah. And what a
How
shame
have
that
you
guy
been?
threw his life away and tried to hurt the police.
He did. So it's his fault.
Right. Yeah, it is his fault. He brought his fate upon himself. What a shame. Let his life poorly lived serve as a lesson for others. That's what people who love black people say. Not these people that pretend, victimhood. He recklessly drove at the officers on scene, according to District Attorney Andrew Womble said on Tuesday. Mr. Brown's death, while tragic, how is it tragic if this guy drove at the officers? I guess you could say his life is a tragedy because he was probably poorly raised.
The
I don't know.
blacks are out there with their "say his name, Andrew Brown" signs.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
4 body
It's
cam
sad.
photos shown to the public for the first time showed the entirety of the incident, which lasts 44 seconds. Wild how stuff develops. Life comes at you fast, or death. What a mess.
It does. How have you been, Hake? I haven't called in a while.
I've been fine. Nice to hear from you.
Yeah. I've been getting ready to join the military, so
Oh, really? That's cool.
yeah.
So what
Yeah.
is it like getting ready to join the military? What do you do to get ready?
Really, right now I'm just going to, because I'm 16 now, so I have to wait till I'm 17. But right now I'm just going to like PT with them, getting ready. I'm going to go to college so I can be an officer.
Going to college first and then going into the military, or both? the
Well,
same
it's
time?
like it's kind of both. You go to college, but you're in the military. So I'll be an active student at Ohio State, but I'll be like training with the military, doing like all the boot camp and everything.
Yeah.
But once I join the military, I'll be able to get like a higher rank, which is officer.
Okay.
So instead of
Right.
just being a regular enlisted, I can go up the rank.
Nice. I mean, you'd be talented at that. You'd be a light in a dark place, possibly. I don't know if you want to join when we have Obama in charge or Biden or whoever's in charge. But it's good if you are not deployed, going to school instead. Although I don't know if you want to go to school, but you're smart. You'd probably know how to avoid getting brainwashed in the snake pit that is college. But interesting, man.
I don't have to go to college, but if I go to college, better pay,
Right.
higher ranking, stuff like that.
Yeah,
so
I
might
was
as well take advantage of it.
I was thinking about going into the military. It was like 2008 or 09 or so. And I was thinking about going into the military. I was already I was not 30. I was 28, 27. And I had already had my degree, so I would have gone into the Marine. I was thinking about going into the Marines. I went through MEPS. What is that thing? MEPS? Where they test
MEPS,
you
yeah.
and all that stuff. And I was doing fine. But then I'm like, I woke up like one morning and I'm like, I don't want to get, I was already, approaching 30. I don't want to get maimed or killed. So I bailed. Maybe if I had gone right out of high school, I would have had a better prepared mindset and body for that type of thing. But I think by the time that I was thinking about it, it was for the wrong reasons. So somebody had suggested it to me, and I listened to that person, and I didn't need to be listening to other people. If you're self-inspired or God-inspired, then that's a different situation. Then you may be fine.
I am kind of self-inspired. Nothing else really interests me, and I don't want to be. I don't want to, because basic training now and all that is a bunch of transgenders and stuff.
I know. You probably get out of shape in a boot camp.
Literally.
Yeah.
I know, like, my uncle, he's in the military, and he said, like, basic training now, like, if you need a 20-minute break, they let you go take a 20-minute break so you can recollect your mind. And it's like, this isn't even basic training. This is, like, counseling.
Yeah. What a shame.
It is. Our military is going to be weak.
Yeah. Well, I wish you well. I wish you well, man.
Thank you, Hank.
Take care, Zach. It's good to hear from you.
Yep.
And thanks for the
Nice
tip
talking.
on blah, 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 Junior.
Yes, of course.
All right. Appreciate it.
All right.
Real quick, let me get to Lucas in Hollywood, California. Your friend and mine, Lucas. Lucas, how are you doing?
Doing well, Hake. How are you doing?
Doing fine, too. Thank you.
I had to get your opinion on, because it talked about it at church and everything. What is your opinion on what my woman did at Costco? Saying,
Let me catch the listeners and viewers up who may not be up to date. Actually, can you catch them up on, without doxing yourself,
without
who you are and what you guys did and what you guys have been doing, real quick.
Well, me and my woman, we're like the Social Dystopia. That's our organization thing. We went to a mask thing, unmasked thing in Costco in Torrance, and my woman went up on the clothes and started reciting the Declaration of Independence.
So you were doing an anti-mask protest in Costco?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And she went up on there, and then as I was bringing her back down, some white woman, it was like a white, like Latina, kind of maybe Latina,
Yeah.
was like recording and talking a lot of, like rubbish, I don't want to say the word, but and so she said F China N-word twice to her, and it went viral.
And you guys were wearing F-word China T-shirts, right? That you guys made?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Torrance. Torrance is a beautiful area, too. Well, I don't know. It's kind of hit and miss. It's down by Manhattan Beach, right? Something around there?
Yeah, right around there.
Okay. So, and you guys have, and I know that you've been doing these anti-mask protests, and you protested outside the vaccine getting site over at Rose Bowl.
Yeah, Dodger Stadium.
Oh, yeah, Dodger Stadium. And they, like, shut it down over you guys, or seemingly over you guys, even though you guys weren't really blocking cars or anything. You were just...
Yeah, we weren't blocking cars. We're just right there on the curb.
Yeah. And so... so some woman was getting in your woman's face, and she was recording you guys, right, on her phone?
Yeah.
And so she said, F China N-word.
Yeah. It was funny, and but it made its rounds, and
yeah.
I think
that these the feedback that you've gotten for the most part from people at church has been right. At least the stuff that I heard said during the stream has been right. Like that, it's good to you gotta calm down, and you gotta protect her and not get so in your face and saying stuff that could get a target on your back unnecessarily. The internet is forever, kind of. And, like Jesse Lee Peterson used to say, no matter what he was doing as a younger man, no video and no writing stuff down to women he was dating or anything. And that way, there's not something that's going to surface against you. Say if you run for office, or who knows what may happen, what opportunities you may get, or, people are so evil that they will attack you for your freedom of speech, because it was freedom of speech what she said, but it was ill-advised. It was not advisable. And so I think that you've gotten good feedback from Jesse for sure. And then I know that Samuel, Mexican car wash boy, also gave you feedback that I really appreciated too, about the other streams that you guys have been doing. So yeah, you want to set a good example, and you want to be peaceful, live at peace with people as much as you can.
Well, I can see the hate, like I can understand the hate coming from like the left, as they call it, the left. But with these conservatives that, they believe in free speech and the constitutionalists, yet they are sending like horrible death threats and all this stuff. And it's like coming from conservatives that I used
Never
to
mind them.
at the rallies.
Never mind them. Most conservatives are evil. And you don't want to get into judging them, because if you start judging them, you're evil too, man.
Yeah, no, I don't judge them. I still go to the rallies, and there's a lot of people that are back, that like back us up, like they're just like, look, I understand,
But the point is about you yourself. Keep an eye on yourself, not on those other people. Don't be surprised at the evil that may come from left or right, because most people are evil. All of the left is evil, except for the ones who are going to wake up and repent. And then most of the right is too. And you yourselves were no angels yourselves, so you have no place to judge any other group who's opposing you or feels threatened by you or whatever you think may be happening. Yeah,
most definitely.
Yeah,
no, I don't judge them, and I don't hate them for it.
Don't even bring it up to me, because something's going on between you and some other group that I don't want to get into, I don't want to talk about, and I don't think that you should honestly be, I don't think that you would be wise to continue that. It's needless, It's needless infighting. Or maybe it's not even infighting, it's just fighting, but it's not necessary. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And another thing, I emailed the producer, FallenState.tv. I don't know if we got a response. I don't know if you guys want to respond, or you guys even want me on that thing. But yeah, I emailed like a short, a couple paragraphs about, because we want to speak on it, or I want to speak on it.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, just remind you that I forgot to tell Jesse yesterday when I called him.
All right, cool. Well, you did the right thing. The emailing the producer, contacting the producer.
Yes.
Cool, man. Well, it's good to hear from you, Lucas. I appreciate it.
All right, thank you, man. Yeah, have a great day.
You as well. Take care. Before I get back to calls, I want to present this, speaking of judgment, judgy women. I have to share this ridiculous Rachel Maddow. This is from actually last Thursday or Friday, I think. I got this from Real Clear Politics. Rachel Maddow, the headline reads, "I'm going to have to rewire myself." And look at how nutty she is. Not to see someone without a mask as a threat. And she's the MSDNC host. And keep in mind, Anthony Fauci, the guy that everybody looks to as an expert, not you, not me necessarily, but he's like a small 80 years old, so I credit him for that because he's doing well for 80, I think. But the guy is a nut. He's a Hillary Clinton fanboy and a Rachel Maddow fanboy. Keep in mind, Fauci likes this woman. He's a big fan of hers. Listen to this nutty woman talking about judging people for not wearing a mask, and now that the CDC says if you're vaccinated, you no longer have to wear a mask indoors in many settings. The CDC finally said something that's common sense. Sort of. They're switching from forcing you to wear a mask and forcing you to stay home to forcing you to get vaccinated. So they're not letting go of control, honestly. But anyway, here is Rachel Maddow, a cable news show host, so-called, acting nutty. Listen to this and watch. Clip 11.
It is an amazing thing. I mean, I will just tell you at a personal level, I'm sorry for speaking of all that in such personal terms with Dr. Walensky, but when I was talking to people today about this new guidance and what to ask her, everybody had very personal feelings about it, and I realized I did too in all these questions. Part of it is that I feel like I'm going to have to rewire myself so that when I see somebody out in the world who's not wearing a mask, I don't instantly think you are a threat or you are selfish or you are a COVID denier and you definitely haven't been vaccinated. I mean, we're going to have to rewire the way that we look at each other because the CDC's guidance, which she just told me, we are sure, is that if you're vaccinated, you don't need to wear a mask except in very specific circumstances. And so that means as we change that as a country, we are going to look at each other differently and have to unwire our preconceptions about what a mask or a lack of a mask means. President Biden spoke to that a little bit today, asking for people to, President Biden actually and Dr. Fauci both spoke to that today, asking for people to essentially be patient, be compassionate, give people respect for whatever they decide on this front, because with this changing guidance, we're going to now have changing norms, and we got to give each other space to have feelings about that as we go through what's going to be a big change that's going to create a lot of visceral reaction in a lot of us just in our day-to-day lives. It's a big day, big change.
It's not that big. It's saying something that's obvious. Well, it's not going quite far enough to something that should be obvious. And she's talking about judging people with masks or without masks. And she's talking about having compassion for the psychos who still want to wear the mask even after they're vaccinated. And I call them psychos because these people have no problem judging you for not wearing a mask, me for not wearing a mask, even though I go way around. I've told this story over and over and over. I went to a park up in Beverly Hills where there's a bunch of liberals, and I walk way around this young father who's like my age, and his young son way around him, 10 feet, maybe 10 yards. And then the boy may say something, ask, hey, Dad, how come he doesn't have a mask? Maybe he said something like that. So I hear the father say all loud so I can hear it. He doesn't have a mask because he doesn't care about anybody else. He's selfish. Talking to the boy like he's his mother. Just teaching him to judge the normal thinking people. Here's another one that came out, I guess, yesterday. Sleepy Biden. He's talking about be kind and respectful to those who want to continue to wear a mask, even if fully vaccinated. And I don't judge those people either. I did call them psychos just now. But it's, Chris called it sorcery. Explain what you mean by sorcery, because you make a good point. Chris, White Chris.
Yeah, basically these, the pundits, they get on and then they project and they tell you how to feel.
Yeah.
And so the people will watch that and they'll naturally say, oh, yeah, it is going to take some time for me to get used to people not wearing masks, which I don't understand. I've
never gotten used to it,
yeah,
actually.
I'm 32 years old. I've lived 31 and, a quarter of those lives of that time without a mask ever.
You're right.
And you want to tell me all of a sudden, oh, we had to wear a mask for a little while. I had to wear it in a grocery store and a few other places.
Right.
Oh, now I'm just so used to the mask.
Good point.
That now that we don't have to wear them, like, oh, I'm going to have to rewire my brain entirely to get used to not having the mask.
Because you might be judging a liberal. If you judge the person for not wearing a mask, you may be judging a fellow liberal.
Yeah, of course. And as usual, it's never done, they hold the cards. From the other perspective, they would never think to see it from the other side.
I know.
Any kind of, oh, maybe I have to, think of them compassionately or, just anything like that. They would never give you
right.
They would never give you that liberty. Basically, I mean, it's par for the course.
Right.
I'm not saying anything new at that point in particular. It just, it needs to be said every time. You need to drive that home. You need to shame them. Yes. But yeah, they're it's just it's an illusion. They get on there and they tell you how to feel.
And listen to how Biden does it. This is also from Real Clear Politics. He's talking to us like we're children. This is about a minute long. Just have to give it to you guys, give this clip to you guys real quick. Be kind and respectful to those who want to continue to wear a mask, even if fully vaccinated. And he's talking to us like we're babies or something like that. Is this how women like to be talked to? Because I can't imagine a man enjoying being talked to this way. Listen to this.
We're still losing too many Americans, and we still have too many unvaccinated people in America. Last week, the CDC announced that if you're fully vaccinated, you no longer have to wear a mask. They reported that the science now shows that your vaccination protects you as well as being masked or better than being masked. So you can protect yourself from serious illness from COVID by getting vaccinated or wearing a mask until you're fully vaccinated. Either way, you're protected. As I said last week, some people may want to continue to wear masks, even if they are fully vaccinated. That's a decision they can make. Some businesses may want to continue to require wearing masks. Let's all be kind and respectful to one another as we come out of this pandemic and respect those who want to continue to wear a mask, even if they've been vaccinated.
This is the guy that said, I would take Trump behind the school and beat him up. He's not about respect. What a sicko. And he's talking, my kindergarten teacher didn't talk to us like this. And we were little kids, 4 and 5 and maybe 6 years old if we were too old. My kindergarten teacher is the only one I know who supposedly died from COVID. Anyway, sick. Very sick. Just feel good. I don't know. It's gross. Anyway, Lin Yan Chin gave a Trovo colorful chat and said, fine point you made to Lucas. Observate oneself. To know thyself is wisdom. The resting in God's grace, guidance, which is the source of productivity. Nice. Meave says, Maddow seems very confused. Her programming is cracking. Yeah, she was like psycho. Well, yeah, she is a lesbian. Her default setting is confused. True, Asmodor. Anyway, let me quickly get to Tony in New York. It's the bottom of the hour on Tuesday here. Tony in New York City, how are you doing?
Yeah, hey.
Hey. How you doing?
Yeah, I was just saying, why is there a problem with the government having, not government, but if somebody's wearing a mask, you really think it's trying to control people?
Say that again?
No, I said, do you really think the government's trying to control people if they're telling them to wear a mask?
Yeah, they're trying to control us. They're telling us to wear masks. They're telling the businesses to stay closed. And now they're telling everybody to get vaccinated. Of course they're trying to control us.
So you know doctors wear masks, right?
Doctors do sometimes.
Why?
Sometimes.
Why do they wear masks?
So that they don't drool onto the patient when they're doing open heart surgery.
No, to prevent the spread of germs, right?
That's what drool is, germs.
And speaking and whatever.
Huh?
So speaking, airborne pathogens, the same thing that's preventing you from getting germs. That's why you see a lot of people in China wearing masks and things of that nature.
Those are communists.
To prevent germs. No, but I'm saying to prevent germs.
But
so it's not no control. It's just
it's control. Of course it's control. They're mandating this stuff. Local governments are mandating this stuff.
The stores are, but the stores are mandating it.
The stores are mandating it under duress. Most of the stores would not force you to wear a mask if the government wouldn't shut them down if they didn't. There's some liberal stores who want to control your life too. There's some liberal corporations that want to control your life, but there's a lot of stores that really don't care.
But they mandated, say, oh well, you got to wear a shirt in the store. You can't go in there with no shirt on.
Yeah, that's a store's right to do that.
Exactly. So the store's right if they don't want.
I didn't say that they were right. I said they have the right. I didn't say they are right.
Like I said, y'all try to make it into like this government control thing.
Of course, they are government control. Are you blind?
Doesn't want
Tony?
The government don't want the people to spread an airborne pathogen.
Do you vote?
If you have an epidemic,
do you vote, Tony?
Why would you? Yes.
How long have you lived in New York City?
20 years?
Did you vote for Bill de Blasio?
No.
Who did you vote for?
The last mayor I voted for was Dickens.
Dickens?
That was about it.
Did you vote for Trump?
No.
Did you vote for Biden?
We're talking about mass. I don't know.
I'm just trying to get a feel of where you're coming from, because you're pretending that the government doesn't want to control us, and they obviously do. If they cared about common sense health, they'd be having people exercise and eat right.
If that's the case, there wouldn't be no. Why does the government control people from age of drinking?
Because they like to control us.
Why does the government control people? Okay,
you're going away from this. You're changing the subject, by the way.
No, I'm trying to tell you why government.
Now you're talking out of both sides of your mouth. You're saying the government does control us.
No, I'm not saying the government put things in place. It's not controlling you.
That's
you still
control.
Decide what you want
That's
to
control.
Do. No,
the government's trying to control you by telling you, put this on. No, you're being ridiculous.
You still decide what you. I'll tell you. Do you have kids?
No. Do you?
Okay, so
do you
know? Yes. Do you know? My
Are you
kids
married?
Go to school. My kids go to school, and they was getting a whole bunch of colds. This is the first year my kids didn't have a cold. Guess why? They had masks on in school.
Oh gosh, give me a break.
They wasn't able to spread. They wasn't able to spread colds and all. This is how people get colds.
You're weak.
And spread. No, I'm just telling you.
Yeah, you are.
So you're making it try to make it seem like it's a bad thing.
It is a bad thing when the government's trying to control you, telling you to wear a mask. People wearing masks outdoors. It's ridiculous.
Even though it's best for people's health, right?
It's not necessarily best for people's health.
So when the government says, "Okay, I don't want,"
they're making mandates to control you, Tony. You're silly.
I don't. If the government say, "I don't want you throwing toxic waste in water reservoirs or whatever," don't you? That's controlling you. Don't want people to get sick. So
Tony, you're pretending that the government has our best interests at heart. They don't.
No, I'm not pretending.
Yes, you are. Yeah, you're just giving examples of stuff that's common sense, pretending that it just makes sense. It's not about control.
You something that makes sense. Why are you going? Oh, it's a control.
Of course, it's about control.
Bad, it's control.
It is about control. Vaccines, shutting down. Tony, are you aware that they shut down businesses to the detriment of the economy and many people's lives? We had more life years lost by the shutdowns than we gained by shutting stuff down. It was not for the benefit of the people. It was about control, and it was about helping Amazon when the small businesses went under. You're a sucker. You're a sucker, Tony.
Listen, you know what?
You're a total sucker. How come you listen to this show?
But I'm just saying, you know what doesn't make sense when Jesse Lee says about
How come you listen to this show?
Whoever's anger, I'm just saying, when he says...
No. You can tell me about anger in a second, but tell me why you listen to this show.
Why I listen to what, your show or Jesse's show?
Both.
You just listen to it. You want to hear what people say, the same way how you listen to CNN and the same way how you listen to Fox.
Okay, what's your point about anger? What's your point about Jesse's point about anger? Since I am going to be Jesse Lee Peterson's press secretary.
No, but you do quote his thing. So whoever's angry is a woman?
Yeah.
That makes sense to you?
Yeah.
Okay, so
you laughed.
So that's funny.
Bobby
Because then just
Rosigliano says, "I love wearing my Confederate flag mask."
Listen, he loves wearing the Confederate because I don't know. He likes traitors. So
those aren't traitors. Wow, you haven't been listening very closely to my show, or it didn't sink in. Because you're rejecting your brothers. Are you American?
Yes.
Then the Confederate lovers are your brothers. Why are you rejecting them and calling them traitors?
The Confederacy were the losers.
They're not traitors.
The Confederacy.
You're a traitor. You're a traitor.
But you're
a loser.
I'm just trying to say there was the.
You're a loser, Tony.
The Union won.
Doesn't make the Confederacy losers. You're calling them losers and traitors. You're a traitor and a loser because you're not for the unity of America.
You're following the losers. You're following the losers.
I'm not following them. I'm supporting them because they're my fellow Americans. You're rejecting them and calling them something that they're not. Shame on you, Tony.
Fine.
Shame
If I
on
think
you.
they're the loser,
Shame
fine.
on you.
Nobody wants
Shame
to
on
follow
you.
the losers. That doesn't
Shame on
make
you.
sense. No, but go back to
You're a
the Jesse. This is
loser,
my last
Tony.
point, and then you could go.
Shame
I
on you.
actually do like you, Hake. I actually do like
I
you
know.
better than Jesse.
I'm
though.
very likable.
But
Oh, here comes the snake. I like you better than Jesse.
no,
he likes
no,
the weaker
seriously.
vessel.
No, the weaker vessel.
Yeah.
Do you really think you're the weaker vessel?
Compared to
Jesse
Jesse? Compared to JLP?
Nah,
Any
Jesse
non-blind
just says
person
the
can see
same.
that.
Nah, Jesse just says too
Lin
many
Yan
outrageous
Chin.
stuff. At least you're a little bit
Outrageously
more-
true. Outrageously true.
And you're a little bit more honest. Well, you're a lot more honest than Jesse.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Thank you, Serpent.
No, but you
Thank
are.
you, Lilith.
Yeah.
Lilith?
Well,
Okay,
why does that bother you?
Lin
No,
Yan
but the thing
Chin.
about with this making a woman. Like, how could you say
Oh.
you're going to be a woman if you get angry? That doesn't really make any sense. Because
Is it
then
man?
go back
Oh,
and
Tony,
says-
let me just ask you.
doesn't make
Is
any
it manly to get angry?
It's not gender specific. It's for anger. But
You're
then
funny.
he'll turn around. He'll turn around and he said, "Well, men were men and boys were boys."
Right. Yeah.
So back in the days,
You got to call him on this stuff, though, man.
because you know it's nonsense. That's why
No,
you
I
can't
just
even
explained it to
explain
you. It's not manly to be angry. I have one more thing to read to you, and we're getting. I mean, if you had called me with that
It's a
question,
lot
maybe
of
I could
nonsense.
entertain
yeah,
it more.
but I'm just trying to say, but it's a lot of nonsense. That's all. It's just funny that, and then when you hear this, you're like, "What the hell are they talking about?" And you're like, "I can't be serious about a lot of this stuff." And
Cool. Right. Thank you, Tony. I
It's
appreciate the
just fun,
feedback.
yeah.
Quick
Nah, but you are
quick
better
comment
than
from
Jesse,
Lin Yan Chin says, "Tell Tony that he is lost to the spirit of bureaucracy, the spirit of mama who cuddles and hates him so." Yeah, the government hates you. They don't care about you, man.
See, he just spitted something Jesse would say about "Mama hates me." That doesn't make no sense.
Because
How you
mama
gonna tell
spoils
that
people
mama
and
hates-
Mama is overprotective. Haven't you noticed that many mothers are overprotective?
They're overprotective.
Yeah, like they
And
won't let
fathers aren't
fathers will
fathers
let the
are
children
over-
fall down and scrape their knee and stuff, and won't be like,
Yeah, but
"Oh, are
that's-
you
that's-
okay?"
But that's the thing. That's why
hey,
you have two
Tony.
different genders. You have a mother and you have a father.
I know.
You can't have two fathers.
But
You
we
can't
have two mothers in the
mothers.
government. We have
You
two
need a
mothers.
contract.
We have
You
two
need a
female
contract.
mothers. We don't need a mother in the government. We need men
We don't
leading.
We don't need two fathers. Being a
The
mother.
government is not your
That don't
parents,
make
Tony. Anyway,
What are you talking about, government?
because we're talking about the government controlling. Anyway, thank
about
you.
being smarter than Jesse.
Are the American Indians the American Indians? You know the American Indians?
Yeah, they lost the war.
Are they losers?
Yeah, because they lost the war.
So any Indian that you see running around in a headdress or they're activists, you call them losers now?
No, I don't call them losers.
How come
like
you don't
that.
call them losers?
Because they still have their land.
Same
They
with the
still have their
Confederates.
customs. What land do they have?
They have the South.
What land? No, they don't.
Yeah, they do. They are your fellow Americans. They got their land back.
They have their own. The Indians, you know, they're their own sovereign nation. The Confederates don't have nothing. All they have is
They
a
have
flag, and
America.
that's it.
They have America.
All right, man.
It's their country
You believe
as much
so.
as yours. Are you American?
If you believe so.
Are you American?
Yes, I just told you.
All right. Well, we'll talk,
All right,
man.
Thanks for the call.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for the call. It's entertaining.
All right. Yeah, thank you. Very interesting. Lin Yan Chin says, lack of wisdom. This is a Trovo colorful chat. It is gender pacific. Yeah, I like that. Noah's Ark Cans is making fun of how he said, "Oh, anger is not gender pacific." Lin Yan Chin with the Trovo colorful chat. Lack of wisdom is rampant. Is a rampant stare in us blacks. Tony of New York City is fine proof of the confusion that comes out of not knowing yourself and God. Reservations are not sovereign nations. They are subject to federal law, says Asmodor. Yeah, true. I dare say that the people who fly Confederate flags to this day have more dignity on the whole, let's say per capita, than many of the Indians, American Indians. Some of them are dignified, but many of them are not dignified. They fall for the victimhood thing. They're Democrats. They are their children, their adolescent children committing suicide like crazy. It's a mess right now.
To this day.
To this day. And that is a fact. Okay. I have more callers to get to, but real quick, before I get to you guys, I have Bobby in Texas coming on shortly. Wants to talk about this Biden clip on masks. But real quick, this critical race theory madness. This is from Real Clear Politics and Sean Hannity's show on Fox News. He interviewed that fired Space Force commander. You know, I talked about him, right? And this guy he looks a lot like my cousin, Trevor or Jared or something. It is not partisan to expose or attack critical race theory or Marxism. This is what that fired Space Force commander said. I don't know if he was fired, but he was relieved of command for going on a podcast and promoting a book that condemned Marxism and communism, right? Because we have Biden's black Department of Defense. I call him an affirmative action defense secretary because he wasn't even 7 years out of the military, which is what you're supposed to be in order to become defense secretary. But they bent the rules for him because he's black and liberal. And the Senate confirmed him. Cowards. So this guy, his name is Lieutenant Colonel, let me see, Lieutenant Colonel Matthew Lohmeier. This is Matthew Lohmeier, Lieutenant Colonel Matthew Lohmeier, a former fighter instructor and fighter pilot, and he's also was a commander in the 11th Space Warning Squadron at Buckley Air Force Base in Colorado. And he was fired on Friday, I guess, due to a loss of trust and confidence in his ability to lead over public comments that he made on a podcast. What was that podcast? Information Operation. If you check Hake News at the end of hour 1, I believe, of today's Jesse Lee Peterson show, I linked to the podcast, I believe. It's on like Gab TV, I think. And he criticized Lloyd Austin's, he ordered a stand down. Well, listen to what he says. This is Matthew Lohmeier talking about the situation. Clip A. Listen to this.
As I began noticing some time ago, and not just in the past few months, but over the past several years, an increasing relevance of what I saw was Marxist ideology parading around by other names. The Defense Secretary in February, I think it was February 5th of this year, called for an extremism down day and issued a guidance memorandum to all service members. And in the guidance memorandum, he basically gave an injunction to every service member to combat extremist ideologies within the force where they saw them, and to take it upon ourselves to protect one another and to speak up and educate one another about extremist ideologies when we discover them causing divisions within the force. And that's me paraphrasing the guidance memorandum, so I include that in the introduction to the book as well.
Nice. Right on, buddy. And so he pointed to this guy's own thing. Because remember at the beginning of the year, in like February, after the January 6th mostly peaceful protest, some of it was a riot over at the Capitol. You know, the Stop the Steal rally, right? So-called Stop the Steal rally. This guy, Lloyd Austin, a month later, he said, oh, we're gonna do a stand down deal and deal with alleged extremism in the ranks. There's going to be no racists or rapists or anybody else in the military. Root out the racists. Well, that would root out most of the POCs. But he's talking about whites. But this guy is saying, okay, extremism, that's Marxism. Here he is going on. This is another about minute and a half, and then I'll get to calls, guys. Enjoy this from Matthew Lohmeier. He continues with Sean Hannity on Fox News there.
You know, one of the things the Defense Department does very well is make it very clear that we've got zero tolerance for discrimination of any kind based on race, sex, politics, religion, etc. Standard. And so that's the standard, right? And so to that end, I've made that very clear to my own people that in the light of a hyper-politicized environment that I've seen since taking command, and I'm no longer in command, I will not tolerate any discrimination of any kind based on politics, for example. And so let me give you one example of what I saw in the past 10 months when I was in command of a unit. there were videos being sent out to every base service member that we were asked to watch in preparation for our extremism down days and discussions on race, in which we were taught that the country was evil, that it was founded in 1619 and not 1776, and that whites are inherently evil. And so I speak up against those things in my book.
I would think in the military that you talk about a brotherhood and a bond that really is kind of unimaginable in real life because you all have each other's back on the battlefield. Thank you for updating us. Appreciate it.
Nice. What a Chad, huh? His book, self-published book, Irresistible Revolution, Marxism's Goal for Conquest and the Unmaking of the American Military. And that's what's happening. Irresistible Revolution. And it got to #1 on Sunday. I guess he was fired on Friday, right? The book went to #1 on the Amazon, on Amazon. Nice. Right on. What a Chad. Let me quickly get to Bobby in Texas. He wants to comment on that Biden clip on masks. What's up, Bobby?
Not much, man. How you doing?
Doing fine, thank you.
Yeah, well, real quick, I want to give a shout out to my main man, Zach, there. Give him a congrats on joining up. That was probably my biggest regret looking back, is that I didn't follow through when I was younger.
Yeah.
Like, I wish
That's
now,
cool.
looking back, that I had joined. Like, I think it would have does a lot for you. A lot of benefits to joining the military.
Although you might have gotten sent to Iraq, and who knows what would have happened. Or
Yeah,
Afghanistan.
I wouldn't have minded. It's been still good for you. My dad was in Vietnam. My grandpa was in World War II. My other grandpa was in World War II, Korea, World War I. Like, I mean, they've all put their time in. They all put a risk out there, and I'd say their risk was probably greater than anyone that went to Desert Storm. I mean, there were probably some jobs that were.
I'm not
more
talking about
dangerous.
Desert Storm. That's the 90s. You're more my age, aren't you? Aren't you just like a year or two older than me?
Yeah, I'm
talking about W's wars.
Those were you're talking about, like, so Iraq.
Yeah,
Well,
Afghanistan.
I was in Iraq, Afghanistan. I
Yeah.
guess it was didn't have a name. Yeah, but anyway, I still think the risk was probably higher for those previous, especially like Vietnam and World War II.
Yeah, those are crazy.
But yeah, so I think it's a great idea to join them, and it opens a lot of doors for you as well.
Yeah, true.
But yeah, I noticed in that clip you played with Biden, you know, he's all, you have to be tolerant of businesses that want to remain wearing masks, but there's nothing about being tolerant about somebody that doesn't want to wear a mask. Or tolerant about not wanting the vaccine.
Exactly.
Or about anything that goes against this narrative that they want to push.
Yep. Yeah, it's terrible. It's a joke. It's silliness.
And they're all just like, everybody just buys right into it. Like, yeah, that's fine. I'm going to have to train myself not to think someone is a COVID denier. Like,
I know. It
like
shows you that
nobody
they're
has
very
any-
prejudiced. They blindly judge people.
They're like all willing to say, yeah, we'll tolerate those businesses that want to remain wearing them, but don't tolerate anybody that's like against like the whole process in general. There's no tolerance for those people. Those people need to be.
That's why these people
down.
fall for this smear job against white cops, such as Chauvin. They just, white cop on a black man's neck. Cop must have been racist. No idea what they're talking about. They're just assuming the worst
Like,
about the
anytime that
whites.
something happens to a black person, it's racism. It's not. There's
Yeah.
no other reason that it could possibly be happening. It's got to be racism.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Total sickos.
And, yeah, that stuff's getting so old, so played out. It's got to be, even for like the normal people in the world, like that aren't quite caught up on politics. It's got to be, kind of getting old to those people as well.
Yeah. Definitely.
I can imagine just seeing the same story over and over again, and then it's always, if probably 75% of them show like that it's some kind of degenerate person that's causing it in the first place.
Yeah. Anyway, man, I appreciate it. It's good to hear from you.
You too.
All right.
Talk to you later, buddy.
Take care. Freddy in New Mexico wants to talk to me. Freddy, How are you doing? Freddy, can you hear me?
Yo, Drayton, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hey, how's it going, man? How you doing?
Doing fine. Thanks for holding. How are you?
No. Oh, doing well, man.
Cool.
Thank you. Yeah, so I just wanted to ask you, I mean, I kind of know because you've kind of said it already, but the Confederacy, I mean...
You dropped out. Are you still there, Freddie?
Yes.
What did you say about the Confederacy? Or what's your question, or what's your comment?
Yeah, I wanted to say I agree with you that about today, the people who support the Confederacy, yes, they are Americans. They're Southern Americans.
Yeah,
they are our brothers. But at the time of the Civil War, when they succeeded, the Confederacy States of America, I mean, they succeeded. Those guys were not, they kind of dropped their American identity, right, to fight against the Americans.
No, they didn't. They didn't want to. They didn't necessarily want to fight. It was they wanted to leave. They wanted to start their own country, the Confederate States of America.
Right, but doesn't that not make them, American by our definition? Like, how you and I are American, and the Confederate supporters of today are American. If they had gotten their way, they wouldn't be part of the USA like we all are today, right? So they
right. Yeah, they would have had their own country.
Okay.
Yeah, had they gotten their way, they would have their own country, the Confederate States of America, as opposed to the United. I guess we were the United States of America, right?
Right.
So the U.S. would have been in the north and maybe in the west, and then the Confederate States of America would have been in the south. And maybe the Confederates would have expanded west too.
Out west too. Yeah, I'm sure they would have had some western states.
And that's what
time, though,
we are a government by the consent of the governed, and so those guys did not feel like they were consenting. They did not have the representation that they wanted. They were saying, and so they wanted to leave the country, which states have a right to do that, I think.
Yeah, of course they do. I'm not arguing against that. I'm just trying to.
But since we wanted to unite with them, we have no choice but to call them our brothers.
Yeah, of course, man. That part I agree. Like today, let's move past.
So, do you think that they were traitors?
I think at the time I would have to say yeah, because I mean, damn, I'm sorry, but I mean.
But I don't know I don't think that they were necessarily traitors. Most of them were not even labeled as traitors. Most of them were not tried for any kind of treason or anything like that. Maybe a few might have been, but for the most part, it was brother against brother. And they had a legitimate disagreement. And
I feel you, man. I agree with you.
They themselves felt betrayed by the Union. So that's why they left. So it's not that they were traitors, they just wanted to leave. If your friend wants to not be with you anymore, or say a girlfriend or whatever, you can't force the girlfriend to stay with you. She's not a traitor for wanting to leave. She's just living her own life. That's what the South wanted to do, was live their own life.
Okay.
We don't understand everything that was going on back then. I don't, for sure. And what's portrayed is, they just wanted slavery and wanted to oppress the blacks forever. I don't buy it. I think that there was a lot more going on. And even the way that they explain it, it's only explained in a way to demonize the South, when I think that there were there were very fine people on both sides, and there was violence on many sides and evil on many sides. So
there definitely was violence and evil on both sides for sure. I have no problem.
Yeah, 600.
I have no problem saying that. I hear what you're saying, man. I really do. I don't know. It's just hard for me to. I mean,
they didn't want. You're right that they didn't want to be part of America, but some might argue that they wanted to uphold the original American values of states' rights, for example, whereas the federal government in the North wanted to oppress more on the states. And we have a problem of the states not having their rights. And the governed, like most of us, I don't know about you, but I don't feel like I have any representation in the federal government anymore, except for Thomas. Thomas, I trust. I like that guy. But
yeah, I know.
They got rid of Trump.
About him.
Yeah, they got rid of Trump, and they're trying to clamp down. They got rid of even the Republican Party got rid of Congressman Steve King, who seemed like a decent man from Iowa. So we're not really a functional country at this point. And back then, who knows what it was like, you know? It's hard to say. But I don't think either side were necessarily traitors. I don't know. Maybe there was definitely a serious disagreement between those guys.
Okay.
Secession, different from succession.
Succession, yep.
Yeah.
They succeeded from the succession. I hear your point, man. I hear your point.
So you still think they were traitors, though?
I kind of do, man. Just because, you know.
But they wanted to leave. They didn't want to. They didn't try to backstab the North. They just tried to leave the North.
Right, but then we had a bloody, brutal war.
But
and I know the
who
North
started that war?
in that too.
What would we have started? Would we have had to have a war if the North let the South leave?
No, but at the same time,
so it takes two to tango.
It definitely does, and that's what I'm saying. At the same time, would we have had the war if the South didn't leave and maybe just, you know, maybe tried a little? Maybe there could have been some. Again, we weren't there. I don't know. This is just speculation, but maybe you know, maybe try a little harder with your. I don't know.
Maybe the North needed to try a little harder,
and maybe they did too, man.
Yeah.
I'm not saying.
Maybe the North are the traitors. The North is the one that went to war to keep the Union. And I'm kind of glad that we still have the South, right? The South is one of the redeeming qualities of America. So I don't really necessarily even hold it against Abraham Lincoln for wanting to keep the country together. If if the Confederate States of America can't fight off a force that's trying to keep it part of its own country, then they didn't win. But they're not losers. They're not traitors. It's just stay out of ignorantly judging people you don't know from way back then.
No, I get you, man. I'm not trying to judge. It's just the way, I don't know, man. I guess it's just my opinion on it. And I hear your points, man, and they're valid. And again, like we do, I'm with you 100% that like people who, regardless of if you have the right to think someone's racist or whatever. That's fine if you think that about Southerners, man. But the Southerners of today, whereas even someone like me, where I would say, you know, back then there were traitors or whatever, you know. Today, I wouldn't call the Southerners of today traitors. No,
right.
That's stupid.
Yeah.
That's stupid.
Anyway, Freddy, I got to run. Nice talking with you. It's the end of the show. Take care, man.
All right. Thank you, James. Thank you very much, man. Tell Nick to be cool, man.
All right. Will do, man.
All right.
All right. Maze, my favorite caller. I cannot get to you. Art in Ohio wants to say why he tells people he's alpha. And Rick in Hampton, Virginia wants to talk about that Atlanta mayor resigning, or at least not running for re-election. Maze wanted to talk about the masks. My favorite ethnic child gave a super chat and said, feminists/evil women say, I'm not just a piece of meat. They also say, it's not a baby, it's just a clump of cells. Just a piece of meat that you can kill. Very good point, my favorite ethnic child. Thanks, guys. The Hake Report for my stuff, thehakereport.com. JesseLeePeterson.com for JLP's stuff, from which you can find The Fallen State, and RebuildingTheMan.com. That's the Bond website. All right, guys, take care.